So in the Simpsons episode called The Springfield Gay Pride Parade, the opening scene is of two men in tank tops walking down the street holding hands, and they say, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." And Lisa Simpson's over on the sidelines with her parents, and she says, "You do this every year. We are used to it." Good morning, everybody. As Will said, I'm Stan Sloan. I'm the managing director of Collegiate Church. And I'm actually in my 23rd year as being an executive director or a CEO of nonprofits. The bulk of that time I've worked with homeless communities in Chicago. And the last 16 years of that, I was specifically working with homeless queer communities. New York City Pride in 2021. It seems like a lifetime ago because of COVID, but just 2 years ago, my husband and I, like a lot of you and a lot of Collegiate Church, were marching in the 50th Gay Pride Parade in New York City. The Gay Pride Parade is not really the Gay Pride Parade anymore. We've become more inclusive in our nomenclature. An LGBTQIA plus parade is too long. And so I think we've moved into a time where we just say the Pride Parade or we say the Queer Pride Parade. That's the second time now that I've used queer. My parents died a few years ago, but before they passed, I used the term queer to my mom. And she explained to me, like, "Stan, queer is a bad word. It's what we used to use to belittle and to make fun of gay people." And she was right, because that's exactly what it was. But today, the word is like a little like playing poker with somebody. And they take the word queer and they push it towards you as the kitty. And then queer people now, or LGBTQ people, take that ante and they up it and they say, "We'll take it and match it," and we push the kitty back towards them. It's our way of saying, if that's the best you got, then bring it. So with that out of the way about what queer means and why we're using it now in a way that is inclusive for our non-binary and our young people in a way that no other word is, I will go back to the question. We've made so much progress as a queer community. Will there be a gay pride parade this year? Will there be a pride parade? Should there be a month dedicated just to pride? Those of you who keep up with controversy in the LGBTQIA plus community know that every year we debate this. Every year, as more corporations are part of the pride parade, as more politicians are fighting for placement in the parade, people are asking, should we still be doing this? Do we still need it? I think at the heart of those questions is inclusivity. In 1969, our predecessors rioted to give basic human rights and to be treated with equality and to gain the acceptance. And they could not have dreamed that just a matter of decades later, we would be able to marry. We would have corporations fighting for our support. We would have politicians jockeying for who got to be first in the parade. Why then are there parts of our community who are saying that we shouldn't be doing all of those things? There may be a lot of answers to that question, but my guess is that the most common one is that our progress has not been shared equally by all. Certainly for white gay men, the world is a better place. And in fact, our incomes actually are higher than that of even straight white men. But that progress that we've made is not met by our lesbian sisters. The lesbian community, in fact, the gap between men and women in pay scale is worse in our community than it is in the broader community. But still, lesbians have made progress, but that progress is not felt by our bisexual community, which, even though it's invisible and we don't talk about it much, is actually the largest group of people out of all of out of all of our alphabet letters. In fact, if you took all of the rest of the alphabet letters and you added them together, there's still more bisexual people, and yet they've not made the progress that lesbians have and that gay people have. But still, if you took their progress and you took that to the transgender community, which is much smaller, the progress has been even slower. Out of every community in the United States, the transgender community faces the greatest amount of violence, of murders, of suicides, and greatest depth of poverty. And then you take the trans community and you go to our gender non-conforming and our queer young kids. And we have no idea what this demographic is like because it doesn't even rate enough to get studied in most polls. Bottom line, the gay and lesbian community has made faster progress in civil rights than any community in the history of the United States. And we did that by convincing everybody that we're white and wealthy and have disposable incomes, and they need us to buy their products, and they need us to get their votes, to get our votes, and to support their campaigns. When in reality, 30% of all queer people need food assistance. 30% of our rainbow need food assistance, but we keep that hidden. And still it has worked for us, and we've gotten the fastest progress on civil rights in our nation. So as an Episcopal priest who's worked with queer people that are homeless most of my life, I could end my sermon right there, but you didn't bring me here to talk about those statistics. You brought me here to talk about the gospel. And so for the gospel, I chose the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who are poor. Blessed are those who hunger. Blessed are those who are persecuted and made fun of, which sounds a lot like those communities that have been left behind in the progress of LGBTQIA+ rights. It doesn't make earthly sense that Christ is saying that those people are the ones that are blessed when gay men have made all the progress. But it is exactly because it doesn't make sense that we know it's the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ is the person who always talked in parables with surprise endings and always talked in ways that turn the world on its head. It's opposite day, as Sam said, the kids came up with. That's the core of our gospel. For me in my own faith journey, the Beatitudes are the core and the lens through which I try to read every other word and passage. Blessed are the poor, the hungry, and the persecuted. I have an image that I use to make sense of it, and that image is of God as a tightrope walker. Now, all of you who have watched tightrope walkers know that they can't walk the tightrope without a pole, right? And humanity is God's pole. And at one end of that pole are the people of the Beatitudes, the people who are hungry, the people who are poor, the people who are persecuted. And at the other end are the people who do really well in this world and who have more than what they need. Look all the way down over there, it's Jeff Bezos. So humanity is the pole and God is the great tightrope walker. And God needs that to be balanced, that pole. But we all know that it's not balanced because there are so many more people living in poverty and so many more people that are hungry than people that are doing well in the world. And so what God does is God has got to move closer to the people on that end of the pole, because in doing so, it becomes balanced again. And so God's presence is closer and God's love is more available to the people who live at that end of the pole. And that's why they're blessed. Before her death, Mother Teresa was interviewed by Diane Sawyer about the people in Calcutta. She talked about how blessed they were. She talked about how being able to minister with them was a blessing in her life and how it showed her God. Diane Sawyer was perplexed, and she said, the way that you talk about them, it makes me feel like I should want to be one of them. And she said, Mother Teresa said, oh, but you can't be, because you've not been given the gift. Today is the first Sunday in Pride Month, and it calls us to question. In 2021, when gay people have made so much progress that corporations and politicians compete for our attention, is a Queer Pride Month really necessary? For the many queer, non-binary, and marginalized sectors of our community that have been left behind, the answer to that question is hell yes. We've come a long way, but for many in our community, we have so much further to go. Let's keep raising the visibility. Let's keep pushing the ante back across the table and calling out the bluff in the game of poker. But in the gospel world, where as we know it, everything is turned on its head, and those that have been left behind are truly blessed and the chosen people, then should we continue to fight for their progress if they're the ones that are truly blessed? And the answer again is hell yes. Because decreased poverty and hunger on that end means that people are moving along the pole. And as they move along the pole, God gets closer to us. And the kingdom of God is more available to us. And the kingdom of God will be fully realized whenever every person's belly is full and when God is equally present to everyone. Today is the first Sunday of Gay Pride, and it's been a blessing to be here with you. May our celebration this month call us into solidarity with those in the queer community that have been left behind and are invisible. And may that recognition reach out to other communities in our country and in countries struggling in ways that we in America can't even imagine. We need to see them more than they need to see us. We need to help them more than they need to receive our help. Blessed be the poor, and woe to those that are rich. Teach us your mysteries, our loving God. Happy Pride.